This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Fan.
What up, News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. It's poker, it's blackjack, it's table games all year round, feeling the felt. One of my favorite parts about it, to be honest, is in my experience, I just have more fun at Canterbury. The dealers are awesome. The people working at Chips are awesome. I love Canterbury. I think you will, too. If you haven't been there, it's one of the best spots in Shakopee. Go check it out today. CanterburyPark.com is the place to go for details.
3-2.
Amen, brother.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, no, that's the key, because I know how the bit works.
Yeah.
And once in a while, I get the key to the money room. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't lose.
Yeah.
Most times, I generally will offer a small donation to the establishment.
Yep.
So while you're taking my money, at least let me have a good time. At least present an environment in which I'm comfortable and can have fun being in.
Fire up
and that's what I get from Canterbury.
Fairness and Revealing Act. I've worked at Canterbury for 3 decades as the racetrack announcer. It's what brought me to the state of Minnesota. When you're the little guy, you have to treat people the right way.
Yes, you do.
All the time. All the time. You can't look the other way because you got fat stacks of cash over there and I'm going to be good. And you got fat stacks of cash over there and I'm going to be good. When you're the little guy, you really, 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 really have to be cognizant of the staff you have and how people are treated. And it's really nice that you said what you said, because that's kind of the underlying mantra at Canterbury Park. We're hiring for jobs, too, by the way, so if that's one of you,
sweet.
CanterburyPark.com. But that was nice of you to say, because that's the underlying tone that we preach at Canterbury Park as the little guy.
Well, it popped in my head because this morning as I was getting ready to roll to the station, I'm sifting through my 4 or 5 free KFAN t-shirt rotation that I rock throughout the work week.
It's beautiful.
And I had to flip by Dave's Faves, Dave's Statsy Handelin's obnoxiously green Dave's Faves t-shirt. And that just popped in my head. A couple of bucks at the door. Dave's Faves. He'll help you win a few pick fives over the course of a summer. CanterburyPark.com.
That's great. Thank you.
Twins lost 9-0 yesterday. Tough day for Chris Paddock on the mound. I believe Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton, they're just like, nah, white flag. We're going to pull them. Like 3 innings into the game. I think just 1 at bat apiece. 0-4 start for the Minnesota Twins. They've mustered just 6 total runs in the 4 games. And they get after it again today at the White Sox. And it'll be Mr. Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. Best of luck to Mr. Woods Richardson and the Twins. We need wins. That's what we want from the baseball team. Some wins, please. Starting today, starting this evening, 6:40 p.m., first pitch. Minnesota Wild lost in a shootout yesterday. It was Vinny Hinostroza.
Hey, you didn't ask me. How come I didn't get a take on the Twins?
No, well, because you're going to be boxing the batter's box on Thursday?
Fine. That's fine. That's why I'm smiling. I'm glad you didn't. Boxing the batter's box this Thursday. I'm really excited for this. First time we've ever done this.
It's going to be sweet.
And the Twins, they're being so gracious as hosts and everything. Come on.
We just need some wins.
Just win a game. Just one game, and maybe make it the day before so everybody's happy. Win the next 2, but win 1. And here we go.
Yeah, well, there's still win 2 in a row, and we'll make it 3 in a row for Rocco on Thursday, home opener. I believe it's Houston in town. Minnesota Wild, it was Vinny Hinostroza that tied it up at 1, and then it was Matt Boldy late in the 3rd period to make it 2-2. Couldn't get by the Devils in the shootout, but the 1 point, every point is important these days, PA, because the Blues never lose. Calgary's got 2 games in hand, and they're just 6 points back. So it's the way that we were talking about the howl and this home stretch run to the postseason, getting out of that play-in. The Wild are just trying to maintain their top wild card spot. You're watching the Blues tonight, Red Wings in St. Louis. The reason that's interesting, in the Red Wings, they're a non-playoff team at the moment. The Red Wings are one of 5 teams. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yes, there are 5 teams within 3 points in the wild card spot for the Eastern Conference. Canadiens hold it at 77, but then the Rangers at 77, 75 for the Blue Jackets, 74 for the Wings and Islanders. So it's an absolute meat grinder in the East. Red Wings should be game, but Blues have won 9 straight. Are you betting on them losing the streak or continuing the streak? If you're a Wild fan, you don't worry about that. You just want to go beat up on Shesterkin and the Rangers tomorrow. Handle business yourself.
Who's the new guy we got at the deadline? Brazo?
Yeah, Brazo.
Yeah, Justin
Brazo, yeah.
Where's 15? I watched that game intently last night because it's important. And I wanted to see if the team was able to rebound from a Saturday loss against the Devils and flip the script and beat. The Devils are good, okay? 9 to noon will never proclaim to be Eastern Conference snobs. I know they're down Jack Hughes. I know they're down Dougie Hamilton. I also like the Prize Picks ads that are on KFAN, and I love Nordo. So, yes, I know those guys are down. That's how I know it. But they're good. This Brazo, I mean, it's he had one of the worst turnovers that I've seen all season. I was around the blue line, and it led to what was a goal that gave the Devils a 2-1 lead very late in the game. It was ridiculous. And Hines is even keeled, and Hines doesn't show a lot of emotion. Hinesy with a massive, screaming F-bomb right after Brazo got beat. The turnover was stupid. I don't even know what he did. It's the guy who I'd never heard of, whose name I can't say. It starts with an H, who had the hat trick Saturday. And he scored.
Oh, Highshear?
He can't be stopped. Well, the guy has 4 goals in 2 games against the Wild, a hat trick Saturday. Well, of course, he's the one that scores. And of course, he's the, or did he dish it to somebody? But of course, he was the one that was on the right end of it. So this Brazo turnover, sorry, man, don't know you, probably never will meet you at Vox in the Box. But you're with a Covenant that is desperate for points, desperate for wins.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lazy turnover. Other side of the coin, Hinostroza. It's the most of a Wild game I've watched in a while because of scheduling. Hinostroza's the bomb. I mean, I know he's a veteran. I know he grew up in Chicago with Ryan Hartman. You talk about somebody going 10 of 10 on every single play. I'm sure he makes mistakes, but he also changes games, and he makes positive things happen. I'm low-key a big Hinostroza fan because of his effort and his wherewithal and his attention to detail at a time of the year where it absolutely matters the most. That's all I got.
Last thing for you here to the Minnesota Timberwolves. You will hear a replay next segment of an extended chat PA had with head coach Chris Finch. Excited. It's a late tip-off, but it is against the Denver Nuggets this evening. 2 in a row in the regular season, I believe. Wolves over Nuggets. And that might jump back 3 in a row, excuse me. And then
Wolves trying to, sorry to go Mark Wilf on it. Yeah. Wolves trying to sweep the Nuggets for the first time since 02-03 in the regular season.
Wow.
So we beat them by 3 November 1st, beat them by 25 the last 2 on average, including one lambasting out there. Last time the Timberwolves swept the Nuggets in the regular season, like 23 years ago.
And this from Shams Gerania.
Oh, no, suspensions?
Yeah, we got discipline. So from the Pistons Timberwolves scuffle, this is what Shams has. Dante DiVincenzo gets a game. Naz Reid gets a game. Ron Holland, by the way, this Detroit cat, this isn't the first time he's squared up this season.
Really?
Somebody posted a video on X and tagged me in it. He went straight up like, we're going Jack Dempsey style on the court, like back in November or December or something like that.
Wow.
So he gets a game. Marcus Sasser off the bench gets a game for Detroit. Isaiah Stewart, this is not surprising. He gets 2 games.
No. Yeah, well.
Isaiah Stewart, I didn't even have to watch the fight to know that if it involved the Pistons, that Isaiah Stewart would be somewhere in that mix. State
of hockey. Those not familiar with what we're talking about, but state of hockey. Now, fights in basketball compared to hockey, state of hockey, you know, you look down your nose at it, and I understand because they're different and they're not really fights. But go to YouTube and search Isaiah Stewart LeBron, okay? And then for 11 minutes, you're going to watch the angriest man ever to be caught on camera in Isaiah Stewart, refusing to be restrained by his teammates and his coaches, trying to get at LeBron James.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm not going to call LeBron chicken, and I'm not even going to say who I would make favorite in that fight. LeBron didn't necessarily want anything to do with Isaiah Stewart.
No.
Okay, because Isaiah was 10 of 10 enraged. It was one of those out-of-control fits of anger bits.
It took a literal village to stop him from getting to LeBron.
Well, because he's brilliant. And here's why. Nobody's ever called Isaiah Stewart brilliant until me right now, but it was. Because he would walk from half court to the foul line and fake his coaches.
Yeah, he was going to walk off.
And take off. And he got out of restraint twice.
He's just going to clear his head.
That's it. I'm good. Hey, stop!
And then he's back.
Who's Bob Carrington? And secondly, what's the guy's name for Phoenix? Tall, the white center.
Eubanks.
Oh, I was going to say Jock or Jake Lawndale.
Was it Eubanks?
It's Drew Eubanks.
Who he punched, right?
Yeah, so like Drew Eubanks, exactly. Nobody knows or cares, just like Isaiah Stewart. They had something going on during the game that bugged Isaiah Stewart. So he's walking out to the team bus, and like Eubanks is going to his car to leave the game. Hey. And like Eubanks walks up to him, Stewart punches him in the face.
I think he fractured his jaw or his orbital bone or something.
Think Dolph Lundgren in that Rocky, whatever it was.
Rocky IV.
Eubanks just stood there, didn't flint. He didn't even move. He just kind of went and walked away. He just punched him in the face. Isaiah Stewart punched him. And Eubanks was like, I'm not going to get mixed up in this stuff. Everybody knows you're a fool. That's why you get 2 games and everybody else gets 1. And oh, wow. So no DiVincenzo or Naz Reid tonight?
Correct.
Okay. Well, in case the boys call, yep, I know they've beaten them 3 in a row. And you know what I've said about Finch and Malone. You know what I've said about limiting Joker's passing lanes. You're concerned? No, this is the time to double.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? Then we'll go out there, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
News to Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com.
Suspension-free radio with Finchy, because nothing had gone down. Chris Finch, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and 2harvest.org, along with prize picks around the corner. By the way, I forgot to pay off the marathon earlier with the Scribe. The elongated segment with Ben Gessling, that was our marathon segment today, courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Go to that website. There's a stainless steel over-the-range microwave around $200. Hit Shop Deals. This is the company with fast delivery, free recycling, and guaranteed low prices, and I love them. stevesappliances.com. All right, 3-2. How with that now? Finchy from Denver. Courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and prize picks. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Pretty well. Thank you for calling. Did you know DiVincenzo was that strong with his arms and leverage? I mean, he's a tough guy, but holy cow, I had no idea he was that strong.
Hey, all these guys are strong. They're all strong, great athletes. But I did know he was that. I did know he was that fiery and that feisty, and that's one thing we do love about him.
Yeah, I mean, they the way they raised them in Delaware or out New Jersey way. Holy cow! You know, some key vets won the Pistons game for you, and of all of them, Rudy was my MVP, and not necessarily because of the 25 rebounds. But he relented from entering the scrap, and Gobert is not afraid to fight. That was a big key, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I thought our guys actually did a good job of showing restraint there. I mean, it was a wild one, and it was unfortunate that it was kind of right up against the crowd. Honestly, I felt the Pistons kind of escalated things as they came into the melee. So our guys did a pretty good job of trying to stay calm and separate. Rudy was awesome in all facets that night. Setting the tone in the paint and around the rim. Of course, rebounded at a super high rate. And he's got something like 20 dunks in the last couple games. So,
jeez.
And just his strength and determination to finish through contact right now is probably at all-time high. I've never seen it.
Well, think about this. I mean, whether it's with the Timberwolves, which would be a no, but your days on benches for like Denver and Houston and New Orleans, 25 rebounds, man. Have you ever been on a bench for one of those?
One time when I was in Houston, had Marcus Camby, who was an elite rebounder. I think he had like 19 and a half, but I don't think he finished with 25. So, but that
crazy.
Yeah, that was impressive. It was impressive to watch Rudy gobble up all those rebounds, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, when after Isaiah Stewart got tossed and Duran got in foul trouble, there were moments in that game when Rudy was in the game, and the game should have been in black and white. I mean, it looked like old school Wilt Chamberlain with a bunch of little Celtics running around him. you know what I mean? You had such a size advantage.
Yeah, he was so dominant. There were times where he, was supposed to take him off the floor as per what would be a normal rotation or just a chance to give him a breather. And then, I just didn't want to. He was so dominant, and he can play really long stretches anyway, so I wasn't worried about that. But I just kind of was afraid to take him off the floor because of how great he was.
Down memory lane we go for a second. Moses Malone. Now that was a relentless rebounder, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. And most of them were his own misses.
That's brilliant.
I was a big Moses Malone fan.
Chris/our Timberwolves are looking to sweep the Nuggets in a regular season series for the first time since the 2002-03 season. What's the crowd like at the building that used to be known as McNichols Arena? Do they get super loud and wild?
Yeah, it's a good crowd here, a real good crowd. They love their Nuggets, of course. But one thing we've noticed, there's a lot of Timberwolves fans in the building. We bring a lot of fans out from the Denver area to come out and support us. And, last few times we've been in here, they've been particularly vocal. We've given them good reason to cheer, so hopefully we can continue that tonight. But, yeah, it's a good crowd here. It's a sneaky good sports town. Denver is. They really love their sports.
Yep.
It's primarily a Broncos town, but they get behind everybody here, particularly teams that have had success.
Well, since you went down that road, the Rockies are the most fascinating of the four because, back to the Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga, and Larry Walker days, they were good. But they haven't been good in a long time. Yet Coors Field is unbelievably enchanting, as you would say. And they get big crowds, so they're probably making money, but they're never good. Yet they get super well supported, probably because of Coors Field, right?
Yeah, Coors Field, definitely. I mean, it's one of the best baseball stadium experiences. I got that whole outfield entertainment district, so you can actually enter from the street, pay a minimal fee to get in, and watch the game from center field. You can't access the seats, but you can access, 10, 12 different bars, restaurants, and that's a really neat experience. And when you're out there, you're looking back across the stadium into the Rocky Mountains, and, the weather always here is always phenomenal. There's never a rain out, so you can always plan to go, and you can always plan to go at the last minute if you wanted to. So and it's right downtown in a cool part of town. So, it is a really, really great fan experience.
The years you were out there, Chris, did you ever get up to Breckenridge or Keystone or Copper Mountain and don the skis and challenge the moguls?
I never skied, but I did get to a handful of those places, in just, on a weekend, mostly, postseason. There's a lot to do in those towns. And strangely, there's a lot to do. There's more to do in the summer oftentimes in those towns than there is in the winter.
Right.
There's so much going on in outdoor activities. If you love that, they're all beautiful places and they're not far from Denver. So it's, really great place to live out here. And, particularly if you if you love the outdoors. It does remind me a lot of Minnesota. I think there's a lot of shared sensibilities between Colorado and Minnesota. People love their state. They really enjoy all their state has to offer. They make the most of it. It's just in Minnesota, people head to the lakes, and in Colorado, they head to the mountains.
Yeah. Now, with those Nuggets, Chris, you beat them in a close one November 1st and have blown them out the last three. Now, is this like the same chat we had last week with Phoenix and the success you guys are having against the Suns? Is it fair to just put it that, I mean, with all due respect, too, that you guys just really enjoy scheming in this matchup, don't you?
Well, I think it comes down to having, first of all, you're going against the best player in the world. That alone presents a number of challenges. And you just have to pick your poison with that. And fortunately, we've always had, being a bigger team, whether with physicality or size or multiple centers or whatever it is, we've been able to kind of just have different looks that we've been able to give, and we've been able to benefit a little bit from that. That's where it kind of all begins and ends. We can make life just hard enough. And whenever we've not been able to contain him, and containing him might be, he might have still 28 points, but he has to work harder to get all that, and therefore his teammates aren't nearly as efficient or as effective as a result. So, we do. There's a few things that we do. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And you got to keep shifting through them. Like any great player, you can't give them the same look over and over.
And that's awesome you said that. And I'm sure you remember every word of our conversation last week, LOL. But when I asked you about those wins versus Phoenix, you said something that kind of like what you just said. I think it was, quote, it's game planning stuff, and I'd prefer to not share on the radio. And of course, we respect that. So with the game against the Suns, I watched closely. So if you don't mind, permit me to go, let's say, Kevin Lockery on it and take a stab at some things from that Phoenix game. Cool?
Go for it.
All right. On defense, you make sure you have your best two in Jaden and Anthony on Devin and Durant at all times. If a double makes sense, do it. Otherwise, leave them alone. Booker hit his first field goal with 3 and change to go in the third. Then on offense, it's like you guys are a football team, man, that consistently runs right at the superstar edge guys, which means you constantly are attacking KD and Booker and thus rendering them pear-shaped. Is that fair?
You're not far off. I mean, like I said, we are lucky enough to have multiple guys to be able to guard those two guys. I'm just a big believer in the NBA that you don't stop superstars. You just have to figure out how to kind of mitigate the damage. And I also believe that, you got to make these guys guard and try to wear them out at both ends of the floor. So.
Last week, with the Detroit win, Chris Finch, second Harvest Heartland, doesn't it just bring so much joy when it's the venerable Mike Conley hitting big shots and stealing the show like he kind of did against the Pistons?
Yeah. I mean, he's just playing at such a high level. His plus-minus rating over the last number of games, has been 17 or above, and that's pretty impressive. He's playing mistake-free basketball, which is what he's done his whole career. He's making shots, he's getting to the rim, and defensively he's locked in where we need him to be, as he always is. And he's such a good partnership with Rudy. We've kind of brought that back to the front of what we're doing more, and he and Julius now have a bit more of a chemistry off the ball. That's Mike's benefiting from. I think it all stems from just Mike being more aggressive too. Like Mike's such a great floor general that he spent a lot of this season trying to make sure everything was working, but in that he forgot about being aggressive for himself. So he's flipped that mindset around a little bit. It helps that everything else is kind of working a bit better. So he's now at a point where, he's been able to focus more on what he's able to do on the floor for himself and for us in that way, being aggressive. And we've always been better when he's scoring the ball. It's just how it's been for us.
So obviously very late in the equation, very late in the race, and trying to get out of the play-in, trying to get that 6th spot.
Yeah.
That's a common thread and has been for a little while. So as coaches, you and Micah, Elston, Pablo Prigioni, just the whole staff, you guys, I would imagine, cannot permit yourselves to be like, dang, if we had just beaten the Wizards, or dang, if we had just beaten the Jazz or whomever. That's a loser's lament, right?
It is. I think, there's those opportunities, the opportunity to feel that way does enter your mind quite a bit. But you just got to keep moving on. You can't let, one loss become 2, because your mindset changes and you start to, if you're not focused on what you're trying to do next, you're just never going to be as good as you need to be. I think, moving forward, it is, of course, a great learning lesson for teams. It was one of the big differences between our season 2 years ago and our last season was that, we didn't drop those games last year. And, we talked about that a lot in the preseason going into last season, how we needed to shore those games up. And, you're not going to win them all, of course, and you're going to have some bad losses. You're going to have some schedule losses. You're going to have some losses that, maybe availability of players certainly affects the outcome. And we've had all of that. And then we've also had losses where, we've had full strength and you would expect us to win, but we didn't. And, that's on us. And sometimes that's how sports goes too. But at the end of the day, the most important thing to note is that the Western Conference, everything's going to be divided by a game or 2. And that's it's that, we might miss the playoff game by a game. We might miss the 4th seed by 2. So it's, and it's hard for in September, October, November, it's hard for players to digest that sometimes because there's just so many games. They always feel, and this is a bit of human nature, you always feel like, wow, we'll make up for it somewhere, and you don't go into a game thinking that way before you might lose it. But afterwards, you certainly think like, okay, well, we'll make up for it. And, you can say there's even games that we beat Oklahoma City coming back from, 16 down in the last 4 or 5 minutes or whatever it was. That's one place we quote unquote would made up for a bad loss. So there's just so many different ways to look at this. But yeah, you only can use it as a learning curve for, it's a team that's trying to continue to grow. And my boss, Tim, said the best, success isn't always a linear path. It's not always you get a little bit better all the time. Sometimes you take a step back and 3 forward. So.
That was a great answer. Just a couple more here in quick fashion. Outside of the Covenant for a second, Chris, did it catch you off guard when Taylor Jenkins was fired by the Grizzlies at this stage of the equation? And I know you respect him. Did you reach out to him?
Of course, yeah. It was shocking for everybody in the industry, just the timing of which was kind of unprecedented. And, super unfortunate. I thought Taylor done an incredible job there. I try not to speak on what goes on within the halls of other organizations, so I don't really know, but I do know that he was a phenomenal coach. He was always a pain in the neck to go against his teams. Thought he did a good job. I thought he did a great job through a lot of tough circumstances, whether it be injuries, et cetera, down there.
Right.
Team always had an identity. He's played to that identity. He brought along a young core to the point where, they are now established players in this league. And yeah, I reached out to him, shared my thoughts and respect with him. And, he'll be fine. He'll land on his feet somewhere, no doubt about it. But these things are still shocking when they happen, and we all know it's part of the business that we signed up for, but doesn't in any way, shape, or form lessen the blow.
Not shocking that you reach out to him with kindness, and thank you for sharing that. Now, lastly, with you guys, tonight at Denver, then Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee, and Memphis on the road before the penultimate game of the season. Do you think it's a good time to get them away for a week and change and eliminate local distractions and comfortability and just be together as a tightly knit covenant right before the postseason?
Yeah, I do like that. I think this is our longest road trip of the season. It's one of the longer road trips I've ever had, really. It's a 11-day, 5-gamer. And I've never had one this late in the season, I don't believe. But I do like it. I do like the fact that we get out on the road. We play in a pretty good rhythm here, pretty much every other day with maybe a day break in between here, one or two of these games. But it's a little bit of a wild when we start in Denver and then end up on the East Coast and then back in the Central Time Zone. But it doesn't feel like it's, an endurance test when you look at it schedule-wise. We got some cities I know players enjoy. We got some cities where they have family. So there's a lot of other things that'll help keep the mind right on this trip. We just got to get the results, and we've been a pretty good road team historically. I think it does heighten our focus, and most likely in the playoffs, well, we'll be starting on the road. So it's a good, to your point, it's a good way to sharpen that resolve.
You're awesome, man. Thanks for the time, early Mountain Time. Tear it up tonight and get the money, and we'll chat next week. All right.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Take care.
Yeah.
That's Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch, a weekly guest. Thank you to Second Harvest Heartland and Prize Picks. And go Wolves tonight against the Nuggets. Season sweep, first time in nearly a quarter century. We would love that. You're going to get to hear tip-off and all the action from Alan Horton right here on The Fan. Final segment around the corner next, 9 to noon.
I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow might very well be too late.
Talkback Talker Tuesday. We had some T-Wolves talkbacks earlier in the radio show, and they were fantastic. Thank you very much for listening and contributing to the free iHeartRadio app. We have a couple left over. Here's one.
Hey, guys. Good stuff here early on. Good Wolves talk. With Nas and Alexander Walker being free agents, of course, this upcoming offseason, Bill Simmons also made a comment a few weeks back that DiVincenzo can opt out of the final 2 years of his deal. And if that is the case, wondering if you think Connolly would certainly want to reward Dante and give him a nice new lucrative long-term deal. I hope that is the case. I hope you can keep all these guys together with Ant, obviously the younger guys as well, and Randall. Who knows?
Bill Simmons cares about the NBA. He's an elite NBA mind. Now, I read some of his stuff, but I didn't see that. Good points. Let's see where it finishes before a radio show starts committing what should be done and should not be done. Nas Reed's easy. I mean that it's there have been times, and Finch has said this 9 to noon. Getting Nas Reed and Julius Randle to play together the right way. I mean, that's been a little bit of a work in progress.
Yeah.
But he is absolutely a vital piece to this equation. Big men who handle the ball the way Nas Reed does, that just doesn't happen often. And he's part of the covenant. Rebounding needs to improve. Some other things need to improve. But, yeah, I'd definitely pay Nas Reed. And we would pay you for listening if we had to, but you get 9 to noon for free. Likewise, everything available here at FM 100.3, KFAN, your audio leader for the program, which is Around the Corner with Dan Cole, the Common Man. Thank you for listening. I'm Paul Allen. Here comes Big Daddy Khan with a wrap on the show.
Ending the show with Chris Finch. He's been making shutting down Denver a cinch. It's always game against the great teams. That's cool. But what about getting Obi Toppin or Jordan Poole? Now the hockey team, living on their own grind. You prefer playing or saying Hinestroza? What a find. hard point as they're in the playoff danger. Now go handle Shesterkin. Put 5 on that Ranger. As fans, we're all hunting for wins. Well, the honey hole's bone dry with the Twins. Fun start to the season, quickly a bad dream. At least you ponied up for the season-long stream. NFL updates from Gessling to next week. I think Target Center is wrestling. There's plenty in this town for which to cover. Somewhere between good and mediocre, though. It's where we hover. Oh, no!
Oh, well.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.